Hey everybody, thanks for checking out our video to Denmark. We spent 2 weeks. We stayed with my brother, and where we spent a lot of time sitting outside on his patio. We loved the late night, white night skies as he calls them. And he did a good job feeding us. He gave us a mussel dinner with champagne, which Margie really loves. We explored Holbæk, some parts of the town that we had never seen before, some of the old parts of town. While we were doing some geocaching, got to see some of the old architecture. We even went to the Life Coast Museum where they build boats, that is, students build boats, and then they take them out on the fjord and sail them. Every trip to Denmark always includes a trip down memory lane where we drive around and look at the old places. This time we stopped by the Margin Farm where our name got started, and we also stopped by the church where both Søren and I were baptized. It was a fun stop to go by the old grade school where I went to school from 1st to 3rd grade. This time, the last stop on the Memory Lane tour was the last house we lived in before we moved to the U.S.
Every time we come to Denmark, Klaus has to have his humongous ice cream concoction, while I only get a puny little cup.
My brother volunteers at a living history museum. It's actually a complete town called Nyvang, recreating life as it was in the 1930s. On the day after we arrived, they were having an open house, and they had a number of demonstrations using their emergency response vehicles, fire, ambulance, police. In this demonstration, a faulty curling iron at the beauty parlor had burned one of the customers and started a fire, so both the fire department and the ambulance had to be called. The patient was transported to the hospital where the good Dr. Meigen was awaiting them. After he had taken care of the injured lady who had gotten burnt on the head, he gave us a tour of the hospital, and it was quite interesting to see how things were done back in those days. He explained that every patient was given a beer and cigarettes. While the nurses were taking care of various accidents throughout the day, we took the opportunity to visit some of the old-time shops. The day ended with a fancy parade of all the antique vehicles and the volunteers who had participated in the events throughout the day. Thomas and his family were using Søren's summer house while we were there, and they were celebrating Natalie's birthday, so we were invited to come up and join them, along with Philip. And after the day's activity, they took us out to a very nice restaurant for dinner, which we enjoyed very much. Søren had invited me out to golf 2 times while we were there on consecutive Tuesdays, and he invited Margie to come along as the caddy. Although I have to say, she didn't really do much of that, but she did take a lot of nice pictures. The golf course is located on Holbæk Fjord, and a portion of it extends into the fjord on a peninsula, so you have a nice scenic view with water all the way around as you're playing golf. Søren's sister-in-law, Annie, and I had struck up a friendship on Facebook over the past year, so I had wanted to stop by and say hello. We surprised them one day. They gave us a tour of their nice home and then invited us back for a lunch another day. where we had open-faced sandwiches, something that I enjoy very much. And, of course, served with schnapps. I don't drink schnapps, but Margie took one for the team. It said Skål.
I love that let go feeling. I feel my hands up on the ceiling.
My niece, Marianne, and her husband, Anas, had bought a house on the beach, actually on the ocean. And I had on my bucket list for a long time to go kayaking there, as the house came with 2 kayaks. They were very kind to invite us over and really set me up for kayaking. Marianne is a real trooper, making sure that I didn't even get my feet wet. That was very much appreciated, although I think I could have managed it.
Everything is possible.
But what the heck, I've got my phone, so as long as my feet weren't wet, she was willing to bring it out to me. Thanks again, Marianne.
I think I'll spend tomorrow.
Well, my guide, Anas, of course, got his phone also. So my other niece, Shalata, ran down the shoreline with his phone so that we could pick that up. She and her dogs welcomed us, although I thought the dogs were going to tip me over. They didn't.
I don't want it ever leaving.
We paddled through some wetland areas and past the campground, a very scenic area. And then eventually we had to pass through these tunnels.
I'm never leaving. Everything is possible.
We were headed over to see one of the Thomas Danbo trolls, which required 1 portage. Again, Anas was very kind to carry both his and my kayak while I managed the paddles. Very difficult job for me.
I feel my hands up on the ceiling. I think I'll spend tomorrow out here. 'Cause days like these feel like I'm dreaming.
Everyone else back at the house, of course, wanted to eat dinner, so they called us and cut our trip a little short. I guess that just means I'll have to invite myself back another time.
I don't want it ever leaving. Breathing in a sky that's so clear. I could spend my whole life right here. I love that summer feeling.
I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors. That's why
My sister Hannah and her husband Finn recently moved into a new apartment.
I let them show.
We sat and chatted for a while, and they served us dessert in their common area. I really have to thank Shalata for setting this up. It was very much appreciated. We chatted about old times and resolved to meet a couple more times before it was time for us to return to the U.S.
It's hard to take courage.
So before we left, Shalata had already set up another date where we would meet over at her house and have dinner there. That was fantastic. We really enjoyed sitting outside, and she had a wonderful meal. It was just terrific.
Colors shining through. I see your true colors.
Marianne, who had also joined us on the first visit at Hannah's apartment, also invited us over and really laid out a nice meal for all of us. I have to say, there was so much good food I couldn't keep from eating. And I gained 14 pounds during this visit, still trying to work it off. We had one final visit over at Hannah's apartment where my nephew Mikael managed to show up. So I saw the whole family. I really appreciated that, and thank you to everybody for making this happen.